What digital allows us to do is accelerate our relationships. So for example, if I've been following someone for a long time on social media and they follow me, I will DM them and say, we need to meet up. And I try and do that as quickly as I can. And I try and turn as many digital relationships into physical relationships as quick as possible. And I found that if you follow someone on social media, your relationship when you meet in person is accelerated. You skip all the small talk straight away. You can dive into a deep topic straight away because you know what each other stand for already, and you already feel like best friends. Shareability is the currency of social media. If your content is less shareable, it gets less views, it gets less engagement. The most viewed content is the most shared content. The most shared content is the content that made you feel one of these things, not made you think one of these things. Everyone remember the first time they learned something? And they were like, I'm never talking to my family ever again, right? It's like, because you learn a little bit and you go, oh my God, I've been doing it all wrong. You start making all these big decisions based on something small that you've learned. And so I think in the beginning of our lives, because to protect ourselves, which is a very normal desire and very good and very human, we think, okay, I need to take care of this, so now I'm going to shut out from all of this. But as we grow, we realize we can give more back. We're going to be viewing or consumed by that device anyway. So why not create touch points that can enliven, remind us to be grateful, remind us to think about our mental health and self-care. And those messages, when you're on your phone and you see them, and they remind you to take a step back, to press pause, to reflect a little more. Those are all powerful ways of meeting people where they're at. Happiness is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. Because when you're by yourself, you've got no one to validate you anymore. And so when we walk out of the house, we're always like, do I look good in this to someone else? Ask yourself, do I look good in this? Because you could end up wearing something that you didn't like because someone else liked it, and then at the end of the night, you're like, oh, I wish you didn't tell me to wear that. And imagine you wore that mask for your whole life. Imagine you wore that career for your whole life. Imagine you wore that purpose for your whole life. And at the end of your life, you look back and go, wow, I just did all of that because 10 people thought it was amazing. Still till this day, the number one feedback I can get is me opening up an email or a DM where someone's randomly messaged me and it says, you just stopped me from committing suicide. Like that, like nothing compares to that. Like genuinely no big deal size, paycheck, campaign, whatever, none of that compares to that feedback. Like if I read a message that says that, that message always gets a response. The saying goes, when people gossip with you, they'll gossip about you. And the thing about gossip is, it all sounds interesting and juicy until it's about you. The reason why we entertain and enjoy gossip is because it makes us feel superior for a moment. For a moment you think you're smarter, sharper, faster, better than the person you're gossiping about. Not realizing that the tables can turn very, very quickly. If you don't want to hear gossip about yourself, stop gossiping about others. So when I was a monk, we focused a lot on the mind, and I genuinely believe that the way we talk to ourselves, the thoughts we allow to enter our mind, and how we clean and heal our mind affects our mental health. So that's why I focus so much on mental health, because that will lead to more greatness and goodness in the world. The question you have to ask yourself is, what does someone feel after watching your video? Right? What do they feel? Not what do they think, not what did they learn, not what do they know, how do they feel? And you want to make people feel one of these 5 emotions. The first one's adventure, the second one's humor or comedy, the third one is emotion, the fourth one's inspiration, and the fifth one is surprise. So if your video makes anyone feel any one of those things, it's more likely to be shareable. 2 types of content creators. One is the sellout and one is the selfish. So a selfish creator only creates videos for themselves. You know when you make a video and like, I would so watch this, right? And it's like, yes, you're the only person that would so watch that. But that's selfish creator. You make stuff that only you understand, right? No one else would get it. And then you have the sellout content creator. The sellout only makes for the audience. And that doesn't work either, because that's hard to refuel. It's hard to feel meaningful. So the truth is the marriage between the two. When we hear the word no, we're programmed to believe that that's negative. We never connect the word no to a good thing. Think about all the times you've heard no and what new door you've opened because you heard no. All the times you heard the word no were actually openings to somewhere new. When we're children, we naturally are caring, compassionate, and kind. I actually saw this really good video on social media of a child watching a cartoon, and the cartoon character started to cry. And so the little girl, she crawled up to the screen and she took a napkin and she started to wipe the tear. And like, that's how we are as children. A quote from Nelson Mandela where he said, "No one is born hating another person. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love."
Find something you love, something you're good at, something the world needs, and something that you can be paid for. When you find the intersection of those four, that's your purpose right there. So I think in different phases of our life, we have different purposes. I think when we're building our careers, we have a purpose. When people become parents, they have a purpose. When we're at the beginning of our lives, we have a different purpose. I think purposes shift, and I think our obsession with finding the one purpose is what often takes us away from many amazing ones.
The most successful people in the world, the most healthy, wealthy, and wise people in the world choose education over entertainment. And the most unsuccessful people in the world, unhealthy, unwealthy, or unwise, are choosing entertainment over education. And I made it my mission in life as to how do we use entertainment as a vehicle for education. How many of you look at your phones the first thing in the morning? All of us, pretty much. So studies show 80% of us look at our phones first thing in the morning and the last thing that we see at night. It's not the person sleeping next to us, it's not anything else, it's our phone screen. How many of you would let 100 people walk into your bedroom first thing in the morning? Would anyone let that happen? I'm guessing not. What we're doing is we're letting 100 people through notifications walk into our mind. We're expecting our brains and our minds to literally go from 0 miles per hour to 100 miles per hour to process all of these notifications, and we just woke up. You can look at the news right now and you can get scared straight away and get in complete freeze mode, feeling stuck, paralyzed, whatever it is, because what you're now doing is you're creating a story of what's going to happen. And so we should be shifting our fear energy into preparation energy. And your confidence is in the preparation. So when people go, how do I feel confident right now? Are you preparing?
Are you putting the reps?
Are you putting the reps?
Yeah.
Are you building your immunity? Are you taking your vitamins? Are you taking the steps that are needed to prepare for whatever's coming? You will feel more confident that way. Yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing about routine, that
and discipline.
It gives you that feeling of certainty.
Yeah.
And when things are uncertain and when you can't control what's happening outside of you or around of you, the only thing you can focus on is what you do. And that gives you a sense of a strong foundation of, I know how my morning starts, I know what I'm going to experience, and I can actually clear my mind. I can build that sense of strength in the morning, which means now I can deal with the challenges that are obviously going to come throughout the day. Happiness is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. Because when you're by yourself, you've got no one to validate you anymore. And so when we walk out of the house, we're always like, do I look good in this to someone else? Ask yourself, do I look good in this? Because you could end up wearing something that you didn't like because someone else liked it, and then at the end of the night you're like, oh, I wish you didn't tell me to wear that. And imagine you wore that mask for your whole life. Imagine you wore that career for your whole life. Imagine you wore that purpose for your whole life, and at the end of your life you look back and go, wow, I just did all of that because 10 people thought it was amazing.